Tom was the proud owner of a used bookstore in bustling New York City. He was a kind-hearted man who loved books and cherished the relationships he formed with his customers. One day, a beautiful woman named Sandra walked into his store, searching for a particular book. Tom was immediately struck by her and tried to flirt with her, but Sandra politely declined his advances. Despite her initial rejection, Tom continued to pursue Sandra, hoping to win her over. Eventually, she gave in to his charm, and the two began a passionate romance. But their happiness was short-lived when Sandra revealed a dark secret to Tom. Her brother was in deep trouble and needed to pay a debt of $350,000, or his life would be in danger. Tom was shocked and worried about Sandra's brother. He wanted to help in any way he could, so he offered to pay off the debt himself. Sandra was hesitant at first, but eventually, she accepted his offer, and Tom provided the money. However, things took a dark turn when Sandra vanished without a trace, leaving Tom to suffer from a nervous breakdown. The once charming Tom was now a shell of his former self, plagued by the pain of Sandra's disappearance and the weight of his financial loss. He was shattered by the betrayal, unable to understand how someone he loved and trusted could deceive him in such a way. Tom struggled to come to terms with the situation, unable to move on from the heartbreak and trauma inflicted upon him. Sandra had a complicated past that she kept hidden from Tom. In reality, she was a parolee with a criminal history. On one occasion, Sandra met with her parole officer who tried to extort money from her, putting her in a difficult situation. But things took a turn when she met a con artist named Max, who offered to help her out. In exchange for paying off her debt to the parole officer, Max began to teach Sandra the tricks of the trade, showing her how to con people out of their money. Sandra was a quick learner and soon became an integral part of Max's operation. As they worked together, the lines between their professional and personal relationships became blurred, and the two eventually slept together. Despite the personal connection, Sandra remained focused on the job at hand, determined to earn enough money to start a new life and leave her troubled past behind. Max is a skilled con artist who is always on the lookout for his next big score. Before he met Sandra, Max visited his mother Madeline and her new boyfriend, billionaire Richard Hobbs, at Richard's luxurious apartment. Max convinced Madeline to let him stay at Richard's place and promised to pay his share of the rent. The next day, Madeline and Richard returned home to find Max being arrested by an undercover police officer for soliciting drugs. Madeline quickly realized that Max was pulling a con to have Richard pay off the officer, who was actually Max's partner named Tipsy. She confronts Max about the scam and forces him to leave the apartment. Max is disappointed but not defeated, as he knows there will always be more opportunities to pull off another con. Despite the setback, Max remains determined to find his next mark and become rich beyond his wildest dreams. As the plot thickens, it becomes apparent that Madeline and Max's relationship is not what it seems. They are not mother and son, but lovers, and they have a scheme in mind to scam Richard out of his wealth. Richard's first encounter with Max occurs when he demands a year's salary in cash to leave Madeline alone and let her be with Richard. However, things take a more complicated turn when Max also meets Tom, Richard's son, who is unaware of Sandra's true identity. The meeting between Max and Tom sets in motion a series of events that will impact their lives in unexpected ways. Max, Madeline, and Tipsy were enjoying a triumphant celebration after a successful job. However, the festivities came to an abrupt halt when Madeline divulged to Max that Richard had proposed to her, and she had accepted. As a result, she informed Max that she would be leaving with Richard, leaving Max to flee from the police whom Madeline had called, taking the money with him. Unfortunately, Richard passed away, and the majority of his estate was bequeathed to Madeline. Due to Richard's doubts about Tom following the incident with Sandra, Tom was only left with the bookstore. Furthermore, he was appointed as the chairman of Richard's foundation, while Madeline was made one of the trustees. Tom, feeling a sense of responsibility for Sandra's well-being, hires his old family friend Braddock to locate her. Despite Madeline's reservations about delving into Sandra's past, Braddock ultimately manages to find her. However, they discover that Sandra is struggling with a severe addiction to heroin. Tom insists that Sandra stay in the apartment so that she can undergo detox, but Madeline is hesitant to have someone with such a serious drug problem under their roof. After some discussion, they agree to let her stay, and Tom vows to help her get clean. However, during a conversation with Sandra, Madeline realizes that she knows about the connection between her and Max. Sandra reveals that she had been with Max before he left her stranded, and she had been looking for him ever since. Sandra then makes a demand that shocks Madeline. She wants her to locate Max so she can confront him about abandoning her. Madeline is torn between her loyalty to Max and her desire to help Sandra get clean. Despite her reservations, Madeline agrees to help Sandra track down Max. However, she makes it clear to Sandra that her priority is to help her overcome her addiction, and she must prioritize her health above all else. Madeline begins to scour the city in search of Max, determined to help Sandra find the closure she needs. However, as she delves deeper into the investigation, she begins to realize that there is more to the situation than meets the eye. She is determined to get to the bottom of it, no matter the cost. After much searching, Madeline manages to locate Max and persuades him to meet with her and Sandra. Despite his initial reluctance, Max agrees to the meeting, and they all meet at a neutral location. During the meeting, to Madeline's surprise, Tom and Braddock suddenly show up, revealing that they had suspected the trio of working together. Tom becomes aggressive and pulls out a gun, first pointing it at Sandra and then at Madeline. As the situation spirals out of control, Sandra manages to disarm Tom and grab hold of the gun. However, in the chaos that follows, Madeline ends up holding the gun and is forced by Tom to point it at him and pull the trigger. To Madeline's horror, the gun goes off, and Tom falls to the ground, apparently dead. Desperate to avoid a lengthy prison sentence, Madeline quickly realizes that she needs to get rid of the money and transfers it all to Richard's foundation, hoping to make amends for the chaos that she had helped to cause. As the reality of the situation sinks in, Madeline is left to wonder what will become of her and the others, now that everything has been turned upside down. Madeline, Max, and Sandra are forced to board a plane to Oklahoma City, uncertain of what their future holds. During the flight, Madeline reminds Max that she still has control of the money since Tom is dead and she is the trustee of Richard's foundation. As they try to come to terms with their situation, Sandra becomes increasingly distraught and retreats to the bathroom. It is then that Madeline notices something strange. The blood on her sleeve is not real, leading her to suspect that Tom may still be alive. Acting on her intuition, Madeline decides to check on Sandra in the bathroom, only to find that she has disappeared. With no sign of Tom or Sandra, Madeline is left wondering what will happen next and if they will ever be able to return to their former lives. The true nature of the scheme is finally revealed when Sandy, who now prefers to go by her nickname, confesses to Tom about the plan. Together, they come up with a new plan to con Madeline and Max, enlisting Tipsy and his partner Goldie, who had previously posed as Braddock, to help them. It becomes clear that the meeting between Sandra and Max had been planned all along, as had Tom's apparent shooting at Madeline's hands. With Tom still alive, he retains control over the foundation and the money. Tom, Sandra, Tipsy, and Goldie meet up at the bookstore to celebrate their success. As they revel in their newfound wealth, Tom and Sandra start to rekindle their relationship, leading to a sense of hope and excitement for what the future may hold for them. Thank you for joining us for this recap of the movie, Sharper. We hope you enjoyed the twists and turns of this thrilling tale of deception, manipulation, and revenge. From the intriguing plot to the captivating performances, Sharper kept us on the edge of our seats until the very end. The film was a roller coaster ride of emotions, leaving us with a sense of satisfaction and excitement for what the future may hold for the characters. As always, we look forward to bringing you more exciting recaps in the future. Until then, happy watching.